All right, legends, we are live. How's everybody doing? Let's analyze here the price of Bitcoin because it's slowly grinding to the upside. Are we going to top out? Are we going to get an explosive breakout to the upside? Are we getting a liquidity grab to the upside, either to the downside? We'll be doing the technical analysis, of course, in this live stream. So make sure to stay tuned here because, hey, we are slowly grinding. The timing is getting overextended. What is happening right now to the price of Bitcoin as we just slowly moving up? Is this the moment that we will be forming either a lower high, or are we going to sweep up the highs and claim the liquidity? This is also a scenario that I'm interested in, and I'm going to be talking about that right away, guys, of course. Now, let me just quickly go through the comment section, say hello to the beautiful community, because we're slowly grinding to the upside right now. And it's like, you know, are we just going to smash through the highs? You know, this does look like very exhaustive price action. You know, is there a possibility that we're just going to move up from here? I think there is a low probability that we do smash out and we go to $88,000, $90,000. So there is some significant liquidity above the highs that were created here yesterday, Sunday. Can we fetch that liquidity and move to the downside, or are we just going to break through and go to much higher levels? We'll be analyzing that, guys. We are moving up right now as we speak on the price of Bitcoin. We just slowly pushing here to the upside. It does look like it wants to go to higher levels. We'll be discussing, most importantly, the lower time frames, of course, but the higher time frames are very important, right? And then we'll be zooming in on the lower time frame to look at the major levels and what are the highest probability moves that I believe that could happen for the price of Bitcoin. Just for some internal day trading scalp scenarios, I did manage to get into a short position early this morning and just about to get stopped out at break even. It was this move right over here. This is a pretty nice, interesting level to get into a short position, and just about to get stopped out, taken, you know, already some profits already off the table. And stop loss is at break even. Entered that trade, and I want to explain that trade right away because it's very, very technical. It has a major level of resistance that I want to explain. And based on this scenario, you know, with my analysis, I was looking at the price to actually continue to the downside, right? Possibly even continue to the downside. However, what if the price does sweep up the high? Right, there is a nice, interesting level to long in this region. Basically, a swing failure pattern from these lows would be very interesting because there is quite a lot of support in this area. And it would be nice to form that kind of zigzaggy structure here and then get the movement up, right? Sweep the liquidities from the low, get the push up, or either sweep the liquidities from the highs and get the movement to the downside. I mean, that would be the kind of ideal scenario. So there's a really nice short position that I want to talk about on the slightly higher time frames. Then we'll zoom in on lower time frames, but very easy, simple trade setups that you can manage risk very, very well. First of all, I want to explain literally this short position that I got in early this morning, just as a, you know, just a trigger trade right there on my mobile in bed, based on the analysis that I did, because when you see this movement to the downside, you know, it looks okay. You know, you could arguably discuss this has a, you know, a 5-wave move to the downside, and this was looking very interesting to form a flat. Now we can see here this movement right over here, really nice, sweep up the lows, get a nice move, sweep up the highs. And as we got this movement to the upside in a 5-wave structure, that's what you want to see in an ABC flat, we hit the 1.618 extension. Right, just a very sniper trade kind of scenario because the 1.6 was just tapped to perfection. And then eventually we got this correction of around about $1,000. Nothing too serious. I mean, we are interested in these day trade scalping levels, all right? And today we're going to talk about other ones, right? What are the other scenarios that I would be interested in looking for a scalp short or either a long position, right? We want to get into a long or either a short. It doesn't matter. We're looking for small movements of $1,000, maybe $2,000. Price has been relatively boring throughout the weekend and also today. Not much volatility. Price is just moving down, moving up, right? Nothing too serious. So we need to be ready once that volatility kicks in, where there are good trading setups. Okay, so let's see how many likes we can get to, at the beginning of the stream. Make sure to destroy the like button, guys, and we'll go straight away through the pure technical analysis. Say hello to the beautiful community. Let's see how many likes we can get, legends. Are we at 50 likes? Ooh, that like button is lagging behind, legends. Let's say hello to the beautiful community, and we'll dive in, guys, through the highest probability scenarios that I am looking at, levels of rejection. Do you think that we're going to smash out? This is a bear trap situation where it does look like it is going to roll over, right? It does look like on the higher time frame that it is going to roll down, right? You kind of, hey, there's no more steam here for the price to just push out of this kind of ascending wedgie structure, right? Which we are looking at a possible contracting diagonal. However, it is taking a long time, right? It is taking quite a long time. You would want to see this as a possible lower high region and really start moving to the downside, right? To hit 83 and potentially 82, $81,000, right? Get a decent move down, whether it's going to be corrective or it's going to be impulsive. We don't know. Or are we just going to break out from here, right? It's kind of a bear trap situation. I think there's too many eyes right now looking at this wedgie structure that is going to break down. What if we do break up? Or what if we attempt to break up here and it turns out to be a double top scenario? These are the golden scenarios, guys, that we want to pay attention to, because to have a successful breakout from here, eventually it either absolutely rockets as you break the Sunday highs, or it creates that liquidity grab, right? It creates that wick to the upside to stop everybody that wants to go short in this region, including myself, but I'm going to get stopped out at break even, managed to scratch some dollars out of this short trade, but it doesn't look, it's just slowly grinding to the upside. We want to see that volatility. I was actually interested in another short position in this region, which I will explain as well on stream, but we're just slowly grinding up. And when we're talking about swing failure patterns, we want to see that kind of wick to the upside or wick to the downside and then instantly reverse, right? But we're just slowly grinding to the upside. So, and we do know that we have a lot of liquidity, okay, sitting above the highs of yesterday, right? Sitting above $85,500. So, we want to consider all of that, right? When we do zoom out, you can see that amount of liquidity sitting above 85,700, basically the highs of yesterday. Can we get that wick and create a swing failure pattern, right? Literally a double top scenario, and then potentially roll down to sweep up today's higher lows, maybe the lows of yesterday, Sunday. It's a very classic kind of move that we want to be ready, right? So it might happen on stream. We're slowly grinding up, all right? No signs of weakness just yet. There are some bearish CVD divergence, but the price action has been in an uptrend throughout the last few days. So yeah, why not create that kind of squeeze, right? Will we break out from $86,000, right? Let's round it off because we did hit 86K here on Bybit. Are you feeling bullish or are you feeling bearish, guys? Will Bitcoin break out? I'm going to ask you on the poll here, and then we'll dive in through the trading plan, right? Possibly it could happen on stream. There's two major levels of interest. I'm going to keep it relatively simple, guys, on the levels that I'm interested in. And I'll just explain the trading setups, because this is a trade that I would like to get in later on today, maybe on stream, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, right? Maybe if I'm awake or not. But it's literally looking at the lows of the range and the highs of the range. Always being cautious for a potential breakout here, or being cautious here for a larger dip down, okay? And obviously on this drop, we want to be extremely cautious. And I want to explain a little bit, what would be the trading plan, because here it would be nice to see some kind of an ABC. The problem is, will this corrective move be very shallow and just sweep up the lows, or will it be relatively steep, right? And then we obviously look for the reversal. We want to see signs of support either here or here, okay, on this possible larger corrective move. Will it be corrective? That is the question as well. Okay, so we want to have a plan, and this plan will be shared on the stream, of course, keeping it very, very simple, focusing mainly on the local structure and the major levels that we do have as resistance and support. We can zoom out later on. I do feel like higher time frame needs to be talked about, but we are here for the action, right? We're here to get into those scalp day trading setups, right? If I can get into a move of $1,000 with high probability, right? Maybe even $2,000 of a move based on pure technical analysis, based on a reason for a trade. I mean, this right over here to be a flat was kind of textbook. This move remind me ever so slightly to the move that we had a few days ago last week, right? Where we kind of, knew that there was a high chance that this movement down was impulsive right over here. Nice 5-wave impulsive move to the downside, very leading move down. And then right over here, the possibility of a flat to then move down, right? Similar scenario, movement down, a flat in the middle. And in this flat, obviously you want the A wave to be swept up. And this is what has happened here early this morning. However, we are slowly kind of moving up, right? We're slowly moving up. Arguably discussed, there's a bit of a wedgie move here, a bit of a bull flag, if you wish, right? Bullish pennant. And we're kind of breaking out. There's no volume though. There's no volatility. There's no major intention. So price could really do anything in this region. We want to see, we want to see some volatility. We want to see some serious price action. But as you can see here, with this movement to the downside, then you have this internal move, right? Which is very, very nice for the flat and hitting the 1.618 extension. So, that was a good level to get into a short position. Bit of a sniper short position, stop loss at the high, moving to the downside. You kind of slowly moving it here into a wedge. So you need to consider taking profit and be defensive just in case the highs are going to be taken. We'll be talking about many different local structures here because we are interested in a trade today, right? We're interested in a day trade, a scalp day trade, and we need to talk about the levels just so we can wait for the levels, set the alerts, and be ready to just get into a trade, right? If we can make some profits, scratching some dollars off the market, right? It would have been nice to make a couple of $1,000s, but overall, the market is not making it easy. We're just slowly moving up. A possible lower high is there. I just want to be defensive. It's a good entry. Managed to scratch some dollars. We can call it a day. But I'm here to talk about another setup, right? We hear, there's setups every day, right? You might find 2-3 setups in the day based on what could happen. So we are here to share that, guys. We're here to share that. So let's go quickly say hello to the beautiful community. I think I'm really going to focus on lower time frame, guys, today, right? Higher time frame. We were talking about the wedge, especially on yesterday's video, right? Looking for this wedge, looking for a larger correction. We did correct a little bit. We're getting the bounce. Very, very rangy. Is there a possibility right now for a lower high here in this area, right? Could we just lower high here or sweep up the highs of yesterday, Sunday? Definitely a scenario, right? It's definitely is something that could happen. So we're going to talk about that, right? It is taking a bit of time. Ideally, in this ascending wedge contracting move, if you wish, right? Ideally, you would want to see a lower high formation. But could it also be kind of an ABC flat in this region, right? Double top, come down to sweep the lows. This is very, very common to see. Very common to see after this kind of wedgie structure. You get a lot of people interested in the short position when you kind of slowly getting wedged here. And this would be the classic ascending wedge that is bearish. You get the breakdown and now the price just moves up, stops everybody out, claims the liquidity, and then gets the push down. So we want to be ready for this scenario because it's a high probability scenario. You need to see that liquidity swept and then look for the rejection, right? It's a very, very simple trade, easy to execute, but you need to remain patient. You just need to remain patient till that high is actually hit, if it is going to be hit or not. And if it's not hit, then eventually we're looking at the lows between Saturday and Sunday, right, to be swept right over here, which we could get an instant reaction bounce. Not only because it's a swing failure pattern, it's because we also have some pretty nice confluence. We've actually been bouncing at that range. It's literally a point of control from this entire range, right? You know, it's just you also have that, yeah, you know, literally it's a point of control from this entire range. You've got consolidation here. You know, also it is a naked point of control from this region, right? This consolidation that you have from Friday, there's a nice high volume node that is just very disturbing to see. And you have some highs right over here. So it's a interesting level to pay attention, because this could also be that kind of trap scenario, right? Where you look for a breakdown, right? Once you have this movement, then you have this bounce, whatever happens here, right? If you do get the movement down, it's either a successful breakdown from the lows. You know, ideally, that's what you would want to see, kind of an A, B, C. You know, you get that movement, you get the breakdown. The third wave is always the most aggressive most of the times. But there is a lot of support here. There is a lot of support. So could we see a reaction at that zone and get a decent recovery? That is the question, right? And that's what we're going to analyze in this stream, right? Most important level of support. Very interesting double top scenario based on the fake out, right? You would arguably discuss a fake out of this ascending wedge, right? You're getting lots of people interested in short positions, lots of liquidity still here to claim, and you just get that classic double top scenario, which you just need to be ready for the rejection to execute that trade. Of course, you're not shorting the pump. As you get the wick to reject, that is when you get into the trade, right? As soon as you lose the highs, realizing it could definitely be a fake out, right? So we're going to give, you know, that explanation in detail here on slightly lower time frames right away in the next coming minutes. How many likes do we have here, guys? I want to get that like button to at least 200. We're going to keep it simple, guys. One of the scenarios is going to happen, right? One of the scenarios is going to happen. So it's just like wait for the price action to come to us, right? That's what we want to do. Right now, this price action is very confusing. We can use a little bit of Elliott wave theory in this area to come to several scenarios, right? We're going to come with several scenarios on the lower time frame because I am interested in a day trade. I'm interested in a scalp day trade because I want to make money today, right? Enter, take some profits, manage my risk very well, and just, you know, scratch some dollars off the market, right? This is not the greatest level to get into a swing long position. You know, you literally moved up here throughout last week. You know, could we break out or not? Well, yeah, I mean, maybe yes, but we are slowly losing the momentum, right? Slowly losing the momentum. So kind of swing shorts are looking a little bit more interesting in this zone. And the double top eventually, you know, would be the ideal scenario, right? Where you know that if you do claim this liquidity, then the next liquidity that you want is literally down here. I would say that this higher low of today would be eventually a TP1 zone. It would be eventually a TP1 zone, inevitably, especially if you do get a reaction from today's higher lows, right? If the price does come down to this region, you need to take profit. It's just a sweep of the higher lows. You know, and if you get the reaction and you start consolidating in this region, if you get into this short position, you just need to collect profits if you react. If you waterfall from here, then you just hold on, and this eventually would be your TP2, right? Where you do have that high volume node in this region. So, yeah, I mean, you know, we got some setups. We just need to wait for them, right? We need to wait for the price action to come to us, right? This area is becoming a little bit confused, you know, a little bit too choppy. There's so many different scenarios in this region that I want to talk about in the stream. And eventually, you know, we will get 2 or 3 setups based on the price action in this region. Okay, so make sure to stay tuned. You know, this zone is interesting. This movement down is interesting because, you know, you can either count this as a 5-wave move down, Your wave 3 is not the smallest, even though it looks like it. It's slightly longer than the first wave, so it is a valid count here for a 5 waver. A little bit of a slight expanding move. And this your A, B, C flat. So, you know, could this be A, B, and C? So. There's also a possibility in counting this as a 3 waver, a flat here, and then another 3 wave here. So this could be your A wave in a 3 wave move. It is also possible you've got a bit of sideways action here in this region. So it is valid for a 3 waver, and this another 3 waver in a flat. So you could be forming a WXY in this structure as well, which we can discuss. Eventually, you could be looking for a triangle formation here. And this would be actually bullish. This would be a bullish structure. You would look for a breakout to the upside. Or you could also be forming a flat as well. You know, this is what I'm really interested in this local price action. Really, really interested. You know, it's either that 5 wave move down, a flat here. You should be forming a lower high. The moment you start taking these highs, it's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting to see if we swing failure pattern from this high or this high right over here. Will we manage to reach the highs of yesterday, claim that liquidity, and then get the steep movement down? We really need to analyze this local price action, because we might get a setup on stream, right? We might get a setup on stream. For the moment, eventually the best level for that liquidity grab and rejection is the highs of yesterday, Sunday. So let's go through the comment section first of all, and then we'll analyze the local price action. Okay, what are the community saying? Let's say hello to Rob. Hello, how are you doing, my man? Altcoins loading pump. Well, the altcoin that did not get a pump and got a devastating move down is Mantra DAO. This was OM as ticker symbol. This is one of the leading RWA tokens, right? Crypto projects out there. And wow, we got it dropped down 90%, guys, in the last 24 hours. 90%. I was not invested in this, never got to buy this, eventually when you do take a look at the run that it had throughout 2023 and, 2024, basically, not interested in buying any of this project. You kind of feel that you missed the entire bull run on the situation, on this crypto project, and the drop that it's had today. Look at this. Basically, it was at around about $6-7 billion. It was a top 20 or top 30 project. Vanished. It seems like most of the team did hold a lot of the tokens, and this is what you get, guys. This is the wild, wild west. So yeah, apparently, many of the altcoins are loading for a pump. Apparently, today is Ethereum Monday, guys, and as promised, every Monday, we will be buying 1 Ethereum as long as it is below $2,000. Now, it's kind of buying into resistance, this major, the movement up that we've had the last few days. But as promised, it is Monday. It is DCAing. As long, the other Monday, we managed to buy it at round about $1,500. So let's just buy that Ethereum right now. We're going to buy, and we got 2 Ethereum right now. There's 2 Mondays that we have bought Ethereum, and it's 1 Ethereum every Monday as long as the price is below 2K. So we might be buying at 1,400, 1,200, 1,000. You don't know, but as long as the price of Ethereum is slowly in a downtrend, I'm interested in buying. I'm interested in buying very much Ethereum at this range. I'm very, very much interested in buying ETH as it's moving down. I do see this bottoming out at some stage, and buying below this area is the strategy, right? Anything here for me is good to buy for the next major pump whenever that happens, right? So as we have Ethereum below $2,000 every Monday, we're going to buy I'm going to buy here just for the sake of the channel, right? Just a DCA strategy. Then, you know, I will do a sheet to see the profits, right? The average price of every Monday that we bought, and just to see the profits in the future, right? Which is, you know, eventually it is a strategy that is obviously going to win, right? In the long term. Short term, yeah, you're going to buy the dip and it keeps dipping kind of situation, right? Which does happen, right? It does happen. You cannot buy the extreme low and put all your money. You just need a DCA. It's the best strategy ever when the price is downtrending, right? It's a win-win without a doubt in the near future, right? Whether that is in the next coming months or the next few years. So as promised, just purchased that Ethereum right now, and it's probably just purchased at the high, but it is Monday, so we buy that Ethereum right away at 1,677. So we got 2 Ethereum. As long as we are below $2,000, we'll be buying every Monday 1 Ethereum. Let's go right away. Ethereum going home. Ethereum is rubbish, right? Ethereum, yeah, well, let's see. Possible 300K end of year. Unlikely. Well, that would be awesome. That would be awesome, right? For all of those people that do hold Bitcoin as a long-term investment, then eventually that is going to be absolutely awesome, right? Get into $300,000 Bitcoin. I think let's see if we can get to all-time high first of all, right? In the next coming months. And then, you know, we'll probably talk, you know, higher prices, right? Because we need to get above all-time high. And if we want to be confident in getting to $300,000, we want to smash the all-time highs, right? We do not want to do this and reject from all-time high, right? We don't want to create a big major rejection. We want really the price to shoot up and, you know, start forming corrective moves again. So yeah, you know, let's get to all-time high first of all. You know, this price action right over here does still count very nicely as a correction, and a reversal is just very likely going to happen, right? A nice move up to $95,000, $100,000, you know, is just very, very likely on the higher time frame eventually, right? It's just rounding off, and it does look more corrective than impulsive. Let's go right away through the lower time frame. We need to discuss the different scenarios here, okay? The different scenarios that we do have. Okay, hello to everybody. Then we can take a look at some altcoins. What's happening? Andy gives us your insight today. I'm just going to talk about 2 major trading levels, either a long or a short. Okay, RIP OM. Yeah, OM is crazy. I was not holding any of this. This is what happens, right? One of the biggest real world asset crypto projects basically gone, you know, 6 billion gone. 6 billion gone, guys, in 24 hours, which is absolutely insane. It is what it is. Mad love and respect for Andy Mustache. Thank you very much, my man. Need a shave. All right, long position is on, says Joe. Long the breakout. Andy Mandy, how are you doing, my man? Paloma, I got my missus here giving love and support. 𝗖𝗍 will be the dark horse in the next leg up. I haven't checked out 𝗖𝗍 actually. I do not hold 𝗖𝗍. I got 𝗕𝗶𝘆𝗽, a friend that is actually holding 𝗖𝗍, bought below $1. This is having a really nice consolidation at the previous highs, right? It's kind of getting that basic resistance support flip, and it is consolidating here. This is actually not a bad idea. Accumulation area already. We are reacting to the level, testing the lows. There is buying pressure in this zone, but you know the deal, right? Nothing is guaranteed in crypto, right? Let's go right away through the comment section. Then we go through the trading plan that I do see here available, legends, because this local price action has me disturbing. It is disturbing price action that there is happening here. And this is what we're going to focus, right? I'm going to give you the exact setups that we're just going to wait for. I'm going to wait for, you know, whether you do want to take it or not, depending on the reaction. And what we're looking for is your decision. A lot of people are, you know, impatient and will just say, I'm longing, I'm shorting, you know, I need to wait for certain levels and certain movements. And I will give you the explanation to see if we can go to the next live stream tomorrow and say, guys, remember what we mentioned? Well, there you have it, right? So we like to do that, right? Try and predict you know, the different levels that can react, which gives you a trading opportunity, right? Then it's you that needs to execute. How much are you risking? Are you managing risk? Are you emotional? Are you not having a stop loss and hoping for a reversal and all of that nonsense? You cannot trade like that, guys. This is a full recipe to basically lose your money, right? You need to have a plan always. You need to know where you're putting your stop loss, invalidation levels, right? You need to have a plan. Trading without a plan is a motorway to get wrecked, right? At some point, you are going to get into some good trades, but at the end of the day, you will lose your money, right? It's just like that. If you don't create your solid plans with good risk management, follow your trading plan. So we're going to talk about the plan, and I'm going to keep it very simple, very easy plan that will be explained here. All right, Andy and the Bears wrecked yet again. Well, it all depends, right? It all depends on how you're trading, right? Because depends on the Bears or the Bulls, right? You know, it depends on your trading strategy, right? Because, you know, I joined a short position today, and, you know, it depends on your trading style, right? Because people, you know, don't realize that I look for day trading setups, right? I look for shorts today and I look for longs. I look for both scenarios. This short right over here that happened early this morning, right? Short, we consolidate. I do see proof of support, the possible reversal. I want to take some profits. So, you know, this is protected. Profits have been taken. So does that make me a bear? Does that make me a wrecked bear? No, it's just a day trade, right? You know, if I can make, you know, $500 in a scalp day trade, looking for lower, but prices squeezing up, you know, there is a possibility of moving to higher levels, then I'll just take profits and I'll be defensive with that trading setup. So does that mean it's wrecked? No, I mean, I'm interested in looking for longs and looking for shorts. You know, we're just going to share the different scenarios. The question is, could we just break out from here, right? Could this break out from here? Like I said, this is low probability scenario. This is a low probability. If you are extremely bullish and you're calling for $300,000, then, you know, yeah, you need to put your feet in the ground here, right? We're just looking for local trading setups, right? Longs and shorts. So, you know, you would be a bull bear, bear bull, whatever you want to call it, right? So it does look like that it is more likely to get some kind of a corrective structure after this movement to the upside. The question is, can we roll down from here, or can we sweep up the highs and roll down? And can we maintain this zone as support? Because if we don't maintain this level as support, basically the highest volume node of the last couple of weeks, then eventually I would be looking for, you know, sub 80K and maybe even 77K, right? 78K, maybe even coming down to this low, coming down to the valley area low, coming down to the golden pocket, right? Let's take it level to level, right? Level to level. We're looking for scalps and day trades, longs and shorts. We're never too bullish or never too bearish, right? Let's go right away. We'll be explaining now the scenarios in detail, legends, okay? We'll be explaining the scenarios in details. I'm tired of being poor. What is poor? What is rich, right? What is rich? What is poor? You came right time, Andy. Empire Trades, my man. Yeah, I'm just going to explain my crypto lifers saying possible 68K. Yeah, well, yeah, without I mean, 68K. Yeah, without a doubt, we're still downtrending, right? We're still downtrending. The stock market did get a major relief rally, getting a nice bounce, coming back to this support resistance flip. Can we manage to break up? We're still downtrending, guys, right? Would be nice to get a reversal. My spot bags would appreciate that. But regarding trades, you know, I'm not in any swing longs, not in any swing shorts. You know, I day trade. I look for internal setups, right? That's what we do on the channel. We look for internal trading setups. So we don't get wrecked because we manage risk very well, right? The trading setups are very, very clear. They're very, very clear and very easy to understand for the viewer, because they need to be like that, right? They need to be like that. They need to be easy to understand. I mean, this was really, really epic. You know, the fact that we're moving like this right now, I have a few scenarios here that I'm looking at. You know, I was really looking for a lower high possibility in this region to continue down, but that's not the case. We're slowly grinding up. There's no big major wick and rejection. It's just slowly grinding. So, you know, not really too interested right now in this zone. You know, for me, it would have been nice to get a sweep up very fast and rejection to get into another short trade and movement down. But we're just tapping this level and we're just grinding up. So I'm kind of not interested in a short here if we didn't swing failure pattern quickly. So we need to talk about what are the possibilities of this movement, right? Because everything changes, right? Every 10 minutes, every hour, we got new information. We got new price action. So we're going to focus on this price action, guys, because on the higher time frame, it's, you know, relatively quite clear on this movement up. You know, we had the idea of this ascending contracting move, ascending wedge structure. This is the problem on, you know, depending on the, you know, the breakout traders eventually are going to be very, very happy for a few hours, right? I don't know where their stop losses is. You know, if you're a breakout trader, eventually you would look for stop loss at the highs. You know, you're breaking out here, right? You would have to come to that psychology point of view that breakout traders are getting into a short here. They probably have their stop losses at the highs. So what do? You get the fake out, you get the highs, and then you move down, right? So this is the interesting trading setup. There's no doubt about it, right? This would be the next interesting short position, and I'm not interested in longing at the highs here with this local uptrend, right? Very slow price action, right? Today we've just moved, you know, $600-700 from the local lows. Not too interested longing right now, right? For this movement up of a few $100s. So not too interested. Would be interested in longing here. So we need to explain what would be nice to see, right? What would be nice to see here? Is this ascending contracting move still valid, right? Is this going to be the ABC either lower high or an ABC flat? Still possible. Still a possibility. You know, we just need more information. So let's just talk about locally what I would be looking at on this current price action. And what we need to focus on here, and we'll build it up together, guys. We'll build it up together. It's from yesterday's highs to today's lows, you know, yesterday night actually. And then the next movement, right? I'm interested in what's happened here, and what's happening here, right? You know, what kind of structure can we be developing right now? When we do see the price action to the downside from yesterday's highs, right? I like to go step by step, guys. We're going to do a slow, brief explanation, because then you start invalidating as you get new price action, certain scenarios. And, you know, for me today, I was looking at the possibility of, from yesterday's highs, you know, could this be the initial start of a wave down, right? Either in a A wave or either in a B wave. Sorry, in a first wave, right? A wave or first wave, right? You got your first initial move to the downside. This movement down, very, very, very confusing. I mean, if this were, you know, if it's an impulse, it can't be an impulse. This correction is overlapping this pivot, right? So it's like, not looking too great. Your fifth wave is the longest one. So you have an issue. Is this wave longer than the first wave? Because if it's the shortest wave, then it's not possible to count this as a 5-wave move to the downside. So then you get the Fibonacci extension from the wick high of yesterday to the pivot low here, right? To this lower high. And you realize that, yeah, you kind of, this wave right over here is slightly longer, right? Just hitting the 1-to-1 extension, right? 1-to-1 extension, little bounce. It is slightly longer. It did get below the 1-to-1 extension. So this wave is not the shortest. So with that theory, eventually you can come to the conclusion that it's a valid 5-wave count of some kind, right? Not the most beautiful, because it turns out to be a little bit of an expanding move. It does turn out to be a little bit of an expanding, ever so slightly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just say, going with that theory, it's not the most beautiful one, but it would be valid, right? It doesn't count extremely awesome, you know, expanding move, rare scenarios. If you have another count possible, you would have to do it, right? You would have to count another possibility. If it is wave 4 overlapping, right? And you know, your wave 3 is ever so slightly longer than the first one. When it's very messy and you have another possible count, you know, you might as well use the other count, right? So with this theory, and that was the main reason of my internal short scalp from this level, is that you have an ABC here, right? You have the nice pump up, very 3-wavy. Also this movement down to sweep up the lows, and then this movement to the upside. What we do like about the flats, right? Expanding flats, which are the most common ones, you know, is coming all the way up to the 1.618 extension, which this just tapped almost to the dollar right there. Very, very, very nice. It is a bit of a sniper, but you literally use the 1.618 as your guideline. I know Devil likes to short or long the 1.618 extension very much. And it's just a sniper trade, literally, right? You just see the rejection from the 1.618 and you either enter somewhere in this region with your stop loss above the high, you know, and then eventually you can get a 2, 3 to 1 as you're moving down. If you start, you know, dancing around here, it's like, you know, let's take some profits, right? Because you're just literally, you know, not moving down very aggressively, especially when you form a bounce here. And you just don't break down in an impulse, right? In a third wave, and you start dancing around. It's like, you know, you might as well take a bit of profits here, because you might not just push down and you might reverse, right? Just using a little bit of common sense. So with this movement, I would say, you know, this is valid. It's a valid count. If this were to be a valid count, you know, it is extremely important that you do form a lower high here, right? Or either here or, you know, somewhere in this region. I'm not liking it. It's getting too choppy. There is bearish CVD divergence. So you are getting some interesting longs entering here. People are actually longing the momentum to the upside, which eventually you have the danger just to, you know, unless you're managing risk of the price just getting a decent pullback of a few $1,000s out of nowhere, right? We do know that corrections can happen very aggressively with this kind of price action. And there is people longing right now, right? People are actually interested in longing here. The momentum, you got higher highs right there. You got lower highs and price action. Even from this point, from yesterday's highs, you do have higher highs, right? On the CVD. Higher highs on the CVD here. So there's higher highs on CVD in this formation and lower highs on price action, right? There's kind of limit shorts getting triggered here. Limit shorts are just getting the rejection in this area. So it's not a very interesting zone to long, right? Not a very interesting to long with bearish CVD divergence. You are getting people longing here the momentum. And eventually, if people are longing here this momentum, they are targeting the highs, you know, which might be reached, right? But that is the ultimate take profit zone eventually from all the people that are trying to long anywhere this region, right? They want to see the price hitting this area because that's their take profit. That is the issue here, right? That is the issue. If this is a correct reading of the market, then, you know, maybe the highs are not going to be claimed. It would be nice for it to be claimed because we know it will likely be a liquidity grab. And there is a setup that could SFP from these highs, but, you know, even better if we do reach yesterday's highs would be a, you know, an interesting swing failure pattern, right? There is a scenario that I want to explain here that you could, you know, wick above this high and then go down to today's lows And if it does not SFP and it manages to push through, then eventually yesterday's highs becomes the good short trigger, right? Once you reject stop loss entry, you're looking for that leg down, at least to the higher lows of today, right? And then maybe there's these lows here as a TP2, right? It would be TP1 right over here and TP2 down here. Very simple, very easy to understand, just a bunch of, liquidation events. However, there is strong bearish CVDs, right? There is strong bearish CVDs here. Lower highs on price action, high highs on the CVD as explained. There's people longing. You can see it on the data. There's people wanting to long here. This momentum to see if we can claim yesterday's highs, get above $86,000. Will that be possible? Well, yeah, maybe, but not too interested in longing here this momentum at the moment, right? Not, I want to see pullbacks. I want to see levels finding support and looking for a possible reversal. So let's talk about, if this scenario were to be valid, which, there is a valid count on this. And this, this very much reminds me of the price action that we had the other day. We were analyzing this very carefully. However, the price action is grinding here. I would prefer to see quick rejections, right? In this ABC flat, you can see the rejection. The rejection is nice. You hit the level, you're there for a few minutes, and then you reject. But you do get that wick. You do get the movement to the upside. This price action reminds me very much of this one right over here that we were analyzing, that we talked about, that it's higher probability that we roll down. There's higher probability, there was the bullish case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But, we preferred this scenario right over here. Just because it looked better. It looked better analyzing this local structure. Because the bullish case scenario in this price action was looking at this as a double zigzag. You had a zigzag right over here. You had a running flat scenario and then another zigzag. Running flat with this B wave hitting the 1.618 extension. It was looking very messy, right? For this to be a correction was like, yeah, it doesn't look too great. It looks better for an impulse, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C flat. Claim the lows of the A wave, claim the highs of the A wave right over here in your C wave, and then roll down. So you might think, well, if this scenario looks very similar to this one, wouldn't you expect this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A, B, C flat to really roll down? Well, there is a problem. Now, in this scenario, in this area, what looked better was the bearish case based on the impulse. The impulse was solid, was looking very nice. Large third wave, high volume, ABC flat, phenomenal. Highest probability, roll down. The bullish case, to look at this as a correction, was not looking good. So with that theory, you come to this bearish case doesn't look too great. Doesn't look too great. Why? Because your third wave here it's not the smallest, but it's almost the smallest. I have to say it's a valid count. But you moving down in a 5 wave, your 5 wave is the longest. You have to count it as an expanding move, ever so slightly, not much. And expanding moves are very rare scenarios. So if you have another scenario, right, can this be counted as a larger correction? And that's where I want to come to, guys, okay? Hang on a second, because the explanation eventually comes to possible setups, right? So what else could there be here, right, if this is not the valid count, right? You do have, it could be the case, guys, right? You moved up here and this actually does count quite okay for a very similar thing here, guys. You know, I did discuss this in the legends. I just didn't like the slow grind to the upside. But you literally have, when we go through the lower time frames, guys, you know, just so you can see in detail how the price action moves. Look at the highs of today. You have a 1 wave, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Look how you form a contracting move in a 5-wave structure here. Right? You cannot make this up. It's there. There's a 5-wave descending wedgie structure in this area, right? So what does that mean? You know, that means that, you know, you could count this as a wave 1. It is there. You can count it as a wave 1. From this low of the wave 5, what do you have? You have the movement up. You have the movement down, almost claiming the lows. It's hit the 0.09, sorry. So it is valid for a flat. And now you sweep up the highs. Can this also be ABC flat? Now you push down. Absolutely. I mean, you know, it's important that you do maintain this lower high and you do form a lower high in this region to then push down and claim today's lows. I mean, I have to say it's a possible scenario. I just don't like the grind. And, you know, this movement down is not the preferred scenario as you form an expanding move. You don't like expanding moves, especially if you have other scenarios. So when we do take a look at the other possible scenarios, other scenarios do actually lean on other structures, which is what I want to come to the conclusion to right now. Okay? But yeah, this is very much a valid count, especially when you have bearish CVD divergence here. People are longing, yeah? People are wanting to long the momentum because they are targeting yesterday's highs. This area is without a doubt not a very interesting long position. I can tell you that, you know. So yeah, this is possible. You know, now what you would be looking for is a 5-wave move to the downside. You have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here in this expanding move. It doesn't look beautiful, but it's valid. Your wave 3 is not the smallest wave, so it's a valid count. Now you have a ABC flat. You have a valid contracting move here and another possible ABC flat. So yeah, I mean, it is valid. It is valid. You know, this is like, you know, this is rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. This movement down is expanding in a 5-wave move, and this is an ABC flat. This 5-wave move is contracting, and you have an ABC flat. So yeah, it's like this is expanding on the higher time frame. This is contracting on the lower time frame. And if this, we're moving down at now with the bearish CVDs. I mean, let's see with this scenario. I mean, and this is how you would come to the conclusion as well. This is a larger A and B, or 1 and 2. This on the lower time frame would be your first wave 1 and 2, meaning that you can have another 3-wave move to the downside, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You would be looking at this, you know, possibility if this were to be the valid count, right? If this were to be the high, you know, you really want to defend this high over here. If this is the valid count, right? Same as this structure right there, right? As we mentioned the other day, right? When you do count this movement, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you do have an ABC flat here, And this was very interesting because you formed an expanding move in a flat. As you move down, and this was mentioned on the stream, guys, this does look impulsive and we could, look to lower levels. Lots of people were really bullish down here. And I wasn't feeling too bullish. I wasn't feeling it. Just because we moved down in a 5-wave mover. And I was like, a lower high here is very possible. Eventually, this would be your invalidation point, right? You don't want to take out the highs of this possible ABC 3-wave structure, right? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we need to talk about other scenarios, right? We need to talk about some other scenarios as well. But this is a possibility. If this is going to be your wave 1, if it were to be your wave 1, what you would want to see here is a significant move down, right? Corrective move, and then another leg down, forming a bit of a 5-wave structure here is what you would want to see. It can be extremely aggressive. You can form a strong move down, consolidate, and then another move down. But what you're interested here is looking at a finished possible kind of ABC movement, right? ABC movement. Where you have the strongest level of support is the point of control, right, of the last week, right? Or even Friday's point of control, which is leaning beneath the higher lows that we formed on Saturday and Sunday. You know that this is a good liquidity grab area, right? I know just by looking at the chart that this is a very, very interesting area based on higher lows, SFP, and the point of control from last week's price action, Friday's point of control as well, last Friday. It's a strong level. There's many ways in trading this. There's the aggressive side of it. There is the aggressive side of this, which is you long straight away as you hit the lows, right? Looking for a swing failure pattern. The problem with these swing failure patterns, you can double, triple bottom and then get the reversal, right? You don't want to have any major stop losses down here, right? Because if you break this level, we are going south big time, right? We are going down big time, like dump down. There's not much support here below 82,000, give or take 500, 600. There's not really much going on here. And if this turns out to be extremely bearish, then eventually you're looking for a major capitulation, right? You're looking for a big move down. So this level needs to hold. It needs to hold. You don't want to come down that region. And what is crucial to understand the price action here is you want that leg down very aggressive, but then you want to see that sideways momentum form your consolidation, your wave 1, 2, 3, your 4, whatever happens here, either a flat, whatever kind of ABC, zigzag, whatever. Just a sideways range, and eventually your 5th wave to claim the lows of that 3rd wave that you formed. That could be an interesting double bottom, but you need your first major leg down first, which eventually you would map it as your wave 3. So you're looking for a double bottom, you're looking for the wave 5. That's where you're interested. And when you do get the swing failure pattern from this low, or the point of control, literally 82,500, that's where you're interested in longing right over here. Long the bounce, long as you do get the 5th wave in, because that's, you're interested in that movement. I can't do this. I can't wait for this. It's just creating the plan. I have these plans mapped in my head and I set the alerts and then I check how the price action has moved. When I open the chart and I get an alert, or when I open the chart, sometimes the price is exactly at a scenario that I'm interested in a short. just like this one over here, right? This is not a random short. This is a short based on an ABC flat. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's nice. We did mention one here the other day, which would have been nice to get a larger move up. But this was also a scenario mentioned, right? SFP from the local highs. In this case, you know, we hit the 1.618 extension to perfection on this ABC flat, right? Right over here. But I mean, almost to the dollar. Really, really nice. You have a quick decision to get into a short here. Stop loss at the highs. Movement down. You're already making a 3-to-1 risk reward. You know, time to lock those profits. That is this. This is exactly this short position that I got on my phone today, realizing the price action. Okay, realizing this ABC flat. There are other scenarios that I want to talk about. There are other scenarios, right? Because what if the price forms something completely different in this region? What are you going to say about it, right? What are you going to say about it, right? It's just, I do not know what the price action is going to do next. It might bounce from here and we might head up. So, you know, we need to create other plans, right? We need to create, you know, is there something different apart from this here? Is there actually something different that we could map? I mean, this is looking pretty damn solid if you ask me right now when we talk about it, right? This does look like it ain't looking too great and we could go to lower levels based on this analysis, right? It's just, this is either an A wave or a one wave. You got your flat structure, contracting move, ABC flat. I mean, this is probably hitting the 1.618 extension as well. I mean, we can take a look at that. I don't like it when it's grinding. I like quick wicks, quick movements, and start rejecting. I mean, this grind here for me is very disturbing. I don't like these grinds that we do get, but this is possibly hit the 1.618 extension. No, it didn't. It hit the 12361382. But you also have, you know, it's a flat scenario regardless, right? If you move down in a 5-wave move, contracting move, ABC flat, this one is expanding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, contracting, ABC flat, you know, and as you do realize, this could have an aggressive push down. You know, I personally would not be too interested right now with this movement after forming this in a long position anywhere in this region. Because I realize if this is a valid count, what you're looking for here is a wave 3 down. Aggressive, right? So it's all about spotting where you don't want to long in this case, right? So you realize that how important this movement down can be, right? Then you get wave 3, a little bit of a wave 4 formation. That would be ideal. And then the SFP, right? The double bottom would be ideal from this range and the point of control. I mean, that would be interesting, is it? We need a little bit of more information here with the price action. How funny is someone at the beginning of the stream saying, you know, bears are getting wrecked just with this slow little grind to the upside. And now say it and it dropped, right? I'm shorting the movement down. There are some other scenarios, guys, that need to be talked about, okay? This can be a very large, complex correction. For the moment, this eventually does look good for a 1, 2, and you're starting your third wave down, right? Or A, B, and C down, right? Obviously, you're looking for these lows to be claimed. It does look nice because after this bounce, you're starting to get aggressive price action to the downside. So you would lean on the probability of the price just, you know, pushing down here, because you would want to see, I mean, yeah, this is a third wave formation possibly, right? And the third waves are most of the times, right, usually the largest wave. So Anybody that wants to long here, you got a situation, right? You got a situation with stop loss, right? Am I tempted to long here? Absolutely not. I realize how the drop can be. It's just not an area that I would be interested in a long after this price action. I was interested earlier in a long position if we would have swept this low before getting this movement to the upside. But not now, really. Okay, so this is a little bit of the plan here, guys. Okay, if the price continues dropping, let's just say that the price continues dropping, right? Check Discord. You got Aditya here with the short position entry on Discord. I'll be going through the comment section right now, guys, but there's a lot of information still that I want to share, okay? There's many other scenarios because this still might not be the case. I'm not interested in longs here because, it might bounce. I'm not interested in shorts, not interested in longs. Eventually, it does look a possibility that the price could push down. I would be very interested in this zone. Why? Just because when we zoom out, it's the point of control, right, of this local price action, right, that we do have from the last few weeks, right? You got a high volume node just sitting, and it's literally had almost support flip, right? Almost a support flip when we broke out of it here the last few days. But it would be nice to sweep up the local lows of the last few days, Saturday and Sunday. Anyway, you've got a bit of a mess here. Let's zoom in straight away, right? It's just a high volume node. Looking at the volume profile. Would I be interested instantly in getting into the long position? Absolutely not, guys. You know, the danger of just longing straight away when you have this wave moving south. Would I be interested in an instant swing failure pattern if we just continue moving down here in a long position? Absolutely not. Why? When we do check the price action, let's get this out of the way. Just a quick example here on the price action there. When we do see the momentum to the upside, right? Yeah, you got a bit of a 5-wave move, possible contracting move right there. If this is a valid count on a 1 wave or an A wave, this is a B wave or a second wave, usually your wave 3s or your wave C's are more aggressive than your wave 1s or your wave 2s. So I realize that, you know, if we break this point of control, we're going to get a pretty decent move down, right? It's going to be pretty decent. So, there is, without a doubt, there is danger of getting into a long position straight away. I do see an instant reaction bounce. You could create a quick swing failure pattern here, right, from these lows, but you just need to be a little bit aware of the higher time frame perspective, right, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here, and all of this can be a large ABC movement, and it can get pretty damn aggressive, and we actually going down to 80k, 79k. So I wouldn't be too fast to get into a long position here, right? Could it be a shallow ABC? Could it be a relatively shallow ABC? And then, the price does get, supported from this range, and it's an ABC? Absolutely. Yeah, well, why not? So how could I get into this long position, right, safely? There is the aggressive scenario that I explained just a few minutes ago, which would be getting the first wave down. The second wave, you're inside of the third wave. And then you form throughout, this evening, a fourth wave, a little bit of a range. And then you move down here. And you can count a 5-wave structure. Then I would say, you can give this a pretty decent shot to get into a long position SFP at the point of control, right, of the last week, and get a bounce at least to sweep up the lower highs of the fourth wave, right? It's a day trade. It's a scalp. It's a day trade scalp. Could this end up going higher? Maybe, but you need to go level to level, right? Target to target. So this would be the lower high that you would be interested in, right? The fourth wave, very, very common to be swept. If you do get that push down, consolidate, and then the next push down, you would want to map this as a possible end of an ABC. You're forming the third wave, fourth wave, right? Once you get that consolidation, you retrace at least to the 236-382 fib from the highs to the lows. And then you get the next leg down that you can SFP, right? That fifth wave, you can SFP. It could be the end of the structure and you're getting a relief rally. You're getting a nice relief rally. But if you get into this wave, if this does continue dropping down, if it were to continue be dropping down to this region, you could still be in the third wave, and third waves can go, I don't know. We don't know till we have our fourth wave, right? We have our bounce, 3-wave structure, sideways. You don't know where it can end. Usually it would end at 1.618. Or the 2.618 even, right? You just don't know, right? If you just break, you break. So it's much better to look for that fourth wave formation. And if it does happen above this low and the point of control, then the fifth wave can be an interesting setup, right? At least to the highs. Little move of $1,000. Now we need to talk about the other scenarios, because maybe this is not what we're looking at, guys. This could be a large, complex, corrective move. And that's what we might just bounce from here and we go up to the highs. I'm not liking this reaction at the lows, actually. So we need to scratch some more profits if you're in any shorts from higher. This is what you do. You scratch profits once you react at certain levels. Because you're reacting, you're seeing a liquidity grab, proof of support. This could bounce. This could bounce. It is trying to bounce. You're going to scratch some profits if you're in any short from higher. It's your target zone, the lows, right? Let me just put this on a folder and then we'll go through the comment section right away, guys. And we're going to talk about some other scenarios based on this structure, okay? So the plan is pretty clear here at the 82,600, 500 range. Have a clear 5-wave move. See the price action getting exhausted. I'll be interested in a long. If you just continue nuking here with no range formation, and you want to see a relatively similar range to this area, ABC flat scenario. You want to see a similar range, right? Give or take an hour, 2 hours, get a bounce range, right? If you just continue dropping with the wicks going up and down, wicks up and down, it's still in the third wave and this could go much lower. So that first consolidation is crucial. It is important. It's important to get that consolidation. Let me just map this here 1 second as the ABC movement. And then we'll go through the comment section and then we'll talk about the other possibilities, guys, because this is getting a reaction. It might just as well bounce. So anybody that did get into a short from higher, this is a take profit zone. Let's just we're going to map this, put it here on the folder as a ABC construction, right? We're looking for continuation to the downside. Now we need to map the other scenario, which is It's very interesting because there will be there is either a short or a long position. So I need you to stay tuned now in the next coming minutes, because we've explained this ABC, right? ABC hasn't been explained. This is nothing, guys. We ain't counting this as a bounce or a wave 3 or anything. This is still on the formation. Unless this bounces and V shapes, then I'm still considering this as more momentum to the downside. So we got this movement, this one. If we do continue rolling down and we don't V shape here, right? We might V shape. Anybody that has got into the short from, I don't know, either here or here, when you sweep up a low and you get this reaction, you need to take profit. You need to take profit, right? You need to. You're reacting to the lows. You need to take profit. You need to be defensive. You can't turn this into a losing trade. So if we would have smashed through the level, don't take profit. Maintain that short till you get to the lows, right? So, if you do get a reaction at the lows, you want to consider scratching some profits. If you don't react and continue down, let's go. I'm taking profits here. So let me just explain here some other plans, because, we reacted at the low. What other scenarios do we have? What if short from here? Now, I'm not interested. I'm not interested here personally on a short position here. I mean, this could be your first leg down of your wave 3. Your invalidation is the highs, a little bit shallow. Not too interested here in the short, but if this is what I've been talking about, this scenario, right? And hang on a second here. Shout out to Aiden in the Legends trading community, by the way. I didn't like the short too much, but he did provide the short trading setup in the Legends trading community. I chickened out. I was already in a short already, but I didn't like the grind, and I thought, we're not SFPing, we're grinding. But Aiden did provide that short trading setup in the Legends trading community. Shout out to him. Right over here with the trigger, with the position. Guys, if you are interested, you do have the Legends trading community on Discord. We do provide daily updates, analysis, for looking for, to look for the next setup with good risk management, right? Just remain patient, what we're looking at. And you also have the modules to learn everything you need to know to become a successful trader yourself, right? It's the 4th link down below, guys, if you're interested in the Legends trading community, okay? You got the modules and you got access to the Discord with daily updates and setups. Right. This, yeah, like as mentioned, somebody asked, what about a short from here? Well, if this is true, to be true on you're looking for your wave, this to be your wave 1, wave 2, you're looking for wave 3 right now, and then a wave 4 and 5, right? Potentially. Well, you could be forming your first wave 1 of your wave 3, right? Dump, 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 dump. And this becomes your wave 3, right? That is all depending on your decision. If this were to be the wave 3, which it can be very much, you don't want to take out the start of your first impulse, right? Of your wave 1. You're literally going to, you want a lower high and you want your wave 3, 4, and 5 to complete your wave 3. So, your invalidation is here. It's a little bit of a far away stop loss, but you would expect price to push down. I don't like it too much. I mean, if we were to get a bigger bounce and, hit the golden pocket to the 7-8 and very strong bearish local CVD divergence, you get lots of people long in here like crazy, then I would say, you got a tight stop loss and you got a good projection, right? You could have a nice 4-5 to 1 risk reward kind of setup. Bit of a bigger bounce, it's possible. Let's go through right away the other scenarios, because maybe this is not going to happen, right? What would I come and say? You said, right? Somebody, you said that you were bearish. You said that we're going to come down to the lows, right? Maybe react depending on the waves, or maybe even break down. But then the price action somehow manages to find support here and gets a breakout, what would you say then? You know, what do you explain on why, hey, all of your analysis was a bunch of rubbish and we did not come down to the lows, right? We did not continue moving south, and the price somehow maintained this region, right? And either took the highs and then the lows, or it got, a major rally. You know, we have to explain something, because as technical analysts, you know, we need to explain the bearish case and the bullish case. You can't only be bullish or you can't only be bearish. I look for longs and I look for shorts, and I need to understand the shorting levels based on the analysis, and I need to understand the longing levels based on the analysis, right? This is what we do, right? Give the explanation, give the reason. Where are you putting your stop loss? You know, what are you waiting for? What, you know, you need, explain the plans, right? As many don't on YouTube, right? If you're looking for someone that's explaining the internal scenarios and explaining the setups and, you know, the risk management and the projections, let me know, because I've been trying to look for people, and you know, there's no one there. If you don't know anybody that it's explaining the scenarios, either bullish and bearish, the trading setup with the stop loss, what you need to look for, the projection, you know, we try and keep it as complete as possible, and especially local range, right? Especially local range, which is very, very hard and disturbing, and you need to continue explaining, right, as the price action develops. I found nobody, guys. It would be nice to know. So, man, I got my Tradingview being a bit laggy today, and you know, I do have lots of tabs open. Let me just close a few things. Tradingview is making me absolutely mad now because of the lagginess that we are getting. I am getting, not we. You know, Tradingview does require a lot of GPU power, right? Let's go right away through the comment section, and then we'll dive in through what if your scenario here, right, and eventually you're looking for a leg down, does not play out, right, and we just get a push to the upside. What can we look for? What if this does not play out now in the next coming hours, and we get a bounce, right, and we move to higher levels? Hang on a minute, right? Well, we need to map the situation again from zero. Map the scenario from zero here, and it just so we realize, we always love, guys, to detect the last high and the last low. This is where the map begins, right? From the last lower high to the last low. That's where you map the, you know, the structure. We can zoom out and rest of it. You know, it does look interesting because, yeah, I need to consider the danger of breaking down. Why is there danger of breaking down? You always need to zoom out, right? Despite that I'm a day trader and I look for scalps and day trades, I need to zoom out and understand, okay, we've been uptrending here for the last, you know, week. And we moved very 5-wavy, very wedgy. I want to be a little bit careful with the long positions here, right? It is good support. I need a lot of information. I want to be cautious just because I realize this, guys. You know, you realize this, the danger that there is. This is a dangerous zone, dangerous area. You need to know what you're doing, right? If you don't know what you're doing and you just randomly longing in this area, you know, if you're using high leverage, high capital, you can get wrecked and depressed. You know, it's important to understand, guys, with the experience, what you're looking for, right, and how you want to execute these trading setups. So, okay, I realize that. I'm just really interested. I realize the danger, right? I realize the danger for a larger move down, right? That's important. realize the danger. A, B, C, or a 1, 2, 3, right? You might just, start moving down very aggressively and like, whoa. Regardless, it could get aggressive. It could get aggressive. So it's be careful if you do not maintain this as support. Find a consolidation, start moving impulsively here, right? Get a nice bounce. Then you want to be very, very cautious. So that scenario has been explained. This one right over here. Simple 5-wave ABC flat, another 5-wave in a contracting move, ABC flat. You do have the possibility of moving down impulsively here. Price is holding. What's going on? Something's happening, right? Price is really consolidating here. It's trying to hold, right? Maybe this is not your wave one. Maybe we form something else. Can this movement down be countered as something else? Because, as mentioned at the beginning, it's not the most beautiful. It's valid, but it's not beautiful. But you do have a expanding move. They are rare scenarios. Your wave 3 is slightly the longest. Slightly longer than your first wave. Your longest is your 5th wave in the expanding move. Can there be something else here on the formation, right? Because then eventually, if you are not ready for what could happen next, right? If you move up from here, like, hey, you said, your analysis was based on this. What the heck's going on? Well, I need to slowly look at this movement to the downside to see if there is something else possible. And there is eventually. If it's not a 5-wave move, either in an impulse or a contracting move or expanding a diagonal, it can either be a WXY double zigzag, because you do get that kind of 5-wave kind of formation, right? Where you do have the zigzag right over here, 1, 2, 3. You have sideways momentum, which is forming also your flat here. And then you have another zigzag move down. Just like we explained right over here in this structure that we formed last Thursday. It's either a 5-wave move down or it's either a double zigzag. Of course, the 5-wave move down was more interesting, and the ABC flat was more interesting to get that leg down. So this is actually looking pretty interesting. Actually looks more interesting than the other scenario. And you may ask why. Why is this scenario, and then we'll go through the rest of the different possibilities, looks more interesting than this one that we've been talking about for over an hour right now, right? If this is not the most interesting scenario that we've been talking for an hour, what's the other one that looks interesting that can give us some setups, right? And we're going to go through that right away, guys. Let me just put here the background music, and we're going to continue rocking, guys, with the local range, because this is where we look to scratch a few dollars off the market, be it 10, 500 or a couple of thousand, right? That's what we try to do here. And that's what we try to do best, right? So yeah, we're gonna zoom in right now and talk about that scenario, and we're gonna start off from scratch again, just like we started off from scratch with this possibility, which I would understand that we continue ranging here and this doesn't come to fruition because of this movement down, which is not the preferred scenario. Expanding moves are not really, scenarios that you prefer. If you can find another valid count or another kind of corrective structure, because all of this range is corrective, right? Then you need to take it into consideration, right? So, Is it laggy? Why so laggy? Yeah, I don't know. I've got some stuff open here that I need to close, okay? I'll probably close the Discord. Yeah, too much stuff. Too many windows, too many stuff open, guys. So you need to bear with me here. But it is a little bit laggy. Just close Discord and closed a few things. Let's go through the comment section. All right. And then we'll go through what are the, what other scenarios are possible, right? As mentioned, this becomes interesting. The trading setup becomes interesting in this zone, but we need the third wave to slow down and form a range, and then the next movement down becomes interesting to form that swing failure pattern where you're getting this huge amount of support from this point of control. This ABC becomes very interesting only if you form the third wave down, the range in your fourth, then you're looking for the double bottom. This movement down, you're not interested. You're interested in the range and then the fifth wave. It's the only way you can trade this, because this could nuke down through all of this, okay? It can nuke down. Or you can be extremely conservative and just look for the end of the movement and then get the first initial movement up and then enter the retracement, right? And then you know that you finished here, right? You get that nice push up. Okay, we need to go through the other scenarios because we might be ranging. We're not dropping, so we're holding, right? We are holding, so we need to talk about the other scenarios right away. By the way, if you are interested in trading, guys, you do have Weeks, which is a great alternative to Bybit. I mean, Bybit's my #1 trading platform, but Weeks, you get a great bonus, guys. Take advantage of this 20% deposit bonus. All right, it's up to $2,000. All right, if you deposit $10,000, you're getting $2,000 on top of that. So you're increasing your capital. This is how you get it. Maintain for 3 consecutive days to get $2,000 on your futures account. You transfer that deposit to futures account and you're getting 20% on top of that. So you have $12,000 in total, right? Well, maximum $2,000. Increase your capital and also get 25% fee reduction with the second link down below, guys. Take advantage. 20% deposit bonus, 25% fee reduction on your trades. Bring it on. It's a great perk. You can even sign up with an email and a password if you wish and start trading. I think you can trade almost anywhere, guys, in the world on Weeks. Okay, so just an email and a password is required. And it's a great alternative to other exchanges that are asking for too much information, right? Let's go and then talk about the next scenarios, because we're going to start from scratch, guys. I can see it, right? It's simple. The analysis here is simple. We realize of the potential of moving down here. We realize of that potential. It is there. But what if we don't? And we start moving up? And we start claiming maybe this high. What if we continue ranging here? What are we looking at? That's going to be explained right away, guys, because we have something, right? We have something. We got this one, which is nice. Looks quite nice right now. But there is another one, which is a similar count that we mentioned in this range. Very, very similar scenario. This did end up breaking down, but there is a possibility for this one not breaking down and continue ranging, just because the other scenario looks a little bit better. It looks a bit better. So first of all, comment section. It is a bit laggy, not laggy for me. Okay, all cool, absolutely great. What's market cipher saying? Green or red dots? Yeah, I mean, I know how market cipher works, but it does not apply to my trading strategy. I have a problem with putting stop losses and when to, there's no, anyway, everybody has their own. Oh my, guys, I've just realized that the like button is broken. We're over 800 people. We're explaining in detail what the heck could happen It's going to be better now because this scenario does look very interesting as well, guys. We are completely ranging. And if this is not an ABC scenario structure or a 1, 2, and 3, we head down, guys, very aggressively. It could be something different, which is a complex WXY. There's no more to it. We need to realize from the highs to the lows what the heck is forming, right? And that's what we're going to do right away. But I need, and there is trading plans behind this, guys, okay? There is a trading plan. There is a trading execution with stop loss, with projected moves. But it has to be explained first of all. And then we'll explain how to enter, what you're looking for to execute that trade. And that's what you get here on the channel, guys. And I need a little bit of support because that gives me energy. I need a bit of like button being smashed. I need to see that like button getting above 500 likes. And that gives me energy, guys. It gives me, I'm hyped up to explain this, to see what we're looking for. And then eventually come tomorrow to see, what played out, right? What played out. Okay, so I need that like button to get at least to 500 likes. And I'm going to take a quick hike. When I come back, I want to see at minimum 500, guys. I'm not sure if we will get there. I'll go quickly through the comment section, do a quick answers, quick Q&A session, right? Keep it just a couple of minutes, and then we'll go through what could Bitcoin do if we do not form this movement, right? And we do not know how we are going to react at these lows. We need to see how we get down there, right? But overall, that is the idea of this price action explained in detail on the lower time frames, right? Very, very messy, very, too much information here, right? Not many people like to look at the lower time frames, right? 5 minute, because it's a big headache, right? But that's why I'm here, right? We just kind of build up the structure. Let's see that like button. I'm going to go and quickly take a hike, and then we are back. Oh yes, that like button did go up. It didn't go to 500, but it did something. Thank you, legends, for the support, for me to be hyped up based on the like button. People do enjoy watching this, and they do see the potential of the technical analysis, mainly looking at Elliot waves as well. And, the levels of confluence that we do have, strong levels, right? So yeah, interesting. This for the moment has the potential, but why are we stopping right now, right? Why aren't we just moving down? If this were to be a third wave, we want to see price, start gaining some steam in the next, hour or so. Start gaining steam. Why is it not moving down? What if we range from here? Well, let's talk about that scenario, right? We started off, as mentioned, guys, when you're analyzing what could be on the formation of a new wave, because this is a new wave range formed from the weekend. We look at the highs and we look at the lows. What the heck happened here? What the heck is happening here? What could be forming? We have one scenario, which is this one. Okay, that's cool. It's possible that the price could, start breaking down, right? Start moving down. What if it doesn't? I don't like too much this movement down because it's an expanding move. Your wave 3 is, not the shortest, just by a little bit. So similar to that price action that we mentioned last Thursday, which is either an impulse or a WXY. Well, let's try with the WXY here, right? At least the first movement down. The first movement down, right? Which we have our doubts that it can be a 5 waver. Yeah, doesn't look too great. So let's start off with the first movement down. You have your zigzag move here before you start a range. You start a range right there. So that's another wave, which eventually is a flat, right? It's on the chart. You cannot make this up. It's a flat. The next movement down does count better as well as, you know, a 3-wave move to the downside, right? Just double zigzag. Double zigzag. You got a zigzag, you got your flat, and then another zigzag. Right? It's just how you can see it right there. Then what you do have is your flat. The main reason why I got into the short position here on a swing failure pattern is actually hitting the 7/8 Fibonacci as well. It's very interesting how fib levels, you can combine fib levels. You got from the highs to the lows, 7/8 Fibonacci, and the 1.618 extension, which is the common area for the C wave of your flat. I mean, this is, it's kind of math, right? It's you got double Fibonacci confluence, 7/8 from the drop, and the 1.618 extension from your flat, which is the common target of the flat, right? It's like, you know, if you react from this level, it's an aggressive short, but you're managing risk like a beast here, right? It's like stop loss above the high of the reaction, and you know, yeah, that's what you got right over here, right? So now, I mean, I'm this is what is interesting right now. Now this is what is interesting. What we're looking here to map is what the heck is going to happen now in this range, right? And let's just map this scenario right away, because this is going to give us some possibilities, okay? It's going to give us some possibilities. At this, you know, throughout the stream, we've been talking about this scenario. We're reacting at the lows. It doesn't look like the price wants to push down. It's getting a little bit of a bounce, which is very interesting to see, right? This is why we have plan B here, which might be plan A. But still possible as long as we stay below these highs. This is a possibility. Like I said, I'm not too interested here based on the other scenario that could happen. You know, I would be interested depending on how the price moves down here. If we do form a lower high, we form a 3, boom, boom, 4, 5, consolidate, wave 4, boom, bam, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This can be an interesting long position, but I'm not too interested in shorting or, you know, right at this zone. Why? Because of this. This is something that could be developing right now. And now, okay, what the heck could happen here with the Y? Because you do have your double zigzag here in your A wave, right? A flat. I mean, this could really be just an ABC zigzag. This could also be an ABC zigzag. I mean, there's so many. I mean, the micro counts can really get you confusing here. You got that movement down, this wave up, ABC kind of movement. Regardless, Because if you formed a double zigzag here, you cannot have the WXY sideways double combo. So you would arguably discuss that a zigzag here is the scenario. And then you're flat here. And now you're forming your Y wave. So yeah, this has to be a zigzag. My bad here, guys. Has to be a zigzag, double zigzag. You have to count this as a zigzag structure. And in the contracting move, but regardless, this is the low. I want to see here with this movement down. Yeah, 7.8 hasn't been hit yet. The 0.88 hasn't been hit. Yeah, sorry guys, you know, this on stream, we're doing it from fresh, right? We're doing it from fresh. So we need to map the situation. You know, this is I'm doing like my overall morning routine when I'm looking for a setup on stream, right? We're doing it from fresh. This is what we do. New information, new price structure. I really kind of like the possibility of here, but this needs to form a lower high right now. Let's take a look at the CVD divergence, because if we take that high, it's going to be looking very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. CVD, we're not getting any bullish CVD divergence now. Bearish CVD, sorry. But yeah, let's take a look here at what kind of structure we could be forming. For the moment, this one does look promising. The moment this is invalidated is when you take out the local highs. When you take out these local highs, this scenario no longer becomes relevant. It's all, you know, you need to throw it in the trash. You need to throw it in the bin, right? So it is important for this scenario that you do maintain beneath these lower highs eventually, right? So if you break out through these highs, we did create a bit of a swing failure pattern from the lows here. Wasn't too interested in this long, to be honest. Not an interesting, yeah, not a very, very difficult long. If we do take out the highs here very aggressively, right, if the price were to manage to take out these highs and you do react, you get a bit of a swing failure pattern, I do see a high probability that you do take out these highs right over here. Okay, so a higher low will be interesting. And eventually I need to explain why. Eventually we need to explain why, right? Is it just because you're doing a bunch of Picasso drawing and that's what you think it is, right? The price doesn't need to follow your drawing. Well, there's an explanation behind that, right? So that's what we come into the conclusion right now. What can be formed in your Y here is two scenarios. Some kind of triangle, okay? A triangle structure. Of course, this would be developed in the next coming hours. If you do continue ranging here, you got your first wave. I mean, this would take many hours to develop, right? You need to see the triangle, basically A, B, C, D, E, right? And then eventually, as this is a corrective structure, you would expect the breakout. what is going to be interesting, you know, that's one scenario, but obviously you have the flat scenario as well here. And the flat scenario could be on the formation. Let's get that ready, guys. Still interested in the possible short trade. I'm literally taking most of the profits from that short here. But there is a possibility right now, as you're retracing here too high, that we just break out and claim Sunday's highs. If we break out from the current highs, I do see Sunday highs being broken. Being hit at least, right? If we get above these highs, at least touch them, I do see the price heading up to the highs of Sunday. Let's go. There's an interesting case here. What we do have for the moment, I mean, it can form a lower high. I mean, we could still be on the formation of this structure. If you take that high, then we're looking at the price to go to higher levels. This is on the verge of getting invalidated. On the verge. With this scenario, what we're looking at here is possibly some kind of zigzag move to the upside. Hang on a second, guys. I'm getting this. Some kind of zigzag move to the upside. Man, Tradingview is not working good today. In a nutshell, what we're looking at is a possible flat structure on your wave Y. So what you have here is a zigzag move. You can very likely zigzag here to the upside, sweep up these highs. It might even reach these highs right over here. Both of these levels become a very interesting swing failure pattern level to claim the lows that we just formed. Right, so in a nutshell, okay, let me just clear this up a little bit. My Tradingview is lagging, but big time here. It is getting very laggy. If this low right there maintains and we get the push up, what we're looking at here is something like this. This is the problem right now. Can it double top from this pivot high, or can it push up to the highs of yesterday? That is the main question. And of course, that is if this scenario doesn't play out, right? The one that we've been talking throughout the stream. The interesting SFP is either this high or the highs of yesterday. Okay, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see that breakout, because it either sweeps up the highs here and gets down to the lows. I mean, this C wave could really push down. And this B wave, if it does not SFP from the highs of today, you're looking for these highs to be rejected. I mean, we do have some significant liquidity up there. However, if we do get up there, taking a look at the target zone of the B wave expanding flat, you're looking at the 1236, 1382. Yeah, it could squeeze out. You know, it's a good SFP level. You know, if it were to push out from this region, it can just about SFP from yesterday's highs. You know, this becomes a good, interesting swing failure pattern based on the WXY structure. So yeah, I'm interested in either an SFP from the local highs of today or a swing failure pattern from these highs. If we do break out from today's highs, then the next level that I'm looking at is yesterday's highs. I'm very interested in that swing failure pattern. And that is just realizing that what we could be looking at here is a WXY instead of the ABC structure. It's still not invalidated, but it does look like it wants to. It does look like it wants to squeeze out. It was looking good until we reacted from the lows of today. And with this reaction, you know, this is why if you did short from here or you shorted from here, you need to take profits at the lows. Wasn't too interested in this long position, if I'm honest with you, based on this scenario. But this is why you need to take profits, right? So, you know, profits have been taken from the short that I did take early this morning because I need to take profit based on the reaction. And, you know, stop loss is at break even. Not that interested in this scalp long position, right? We did kind of swept the lows. Bit of an aggressive SFP from the local lows of today. A bit aggressive. You know, I do see myself getting stopped out from this. You know, this does look pretty promising to push up now. So, yeah, this is just about to get invalidated as we speak. And this would be the next possible option. If we were to break out here and just shoot up and we do not swing failure pattern from either the local highs of today or the highs of Sunday, then, you know, you would, you know, if we were to shoot up from here, right, just let's say that we do this and we just absolutely rip and go to 87, right, 88, and we just continue to the upside. We don't swing failure pattern from any of the highs. We just continue, you know, breaking out. Well, you have to come to the conclusion, which I think is low probability for the moment before getting a larger move, that this has been an ABC. And the fact that you moved up with a nice strong 5-wave move here to the upside, because you do have a pretty nice solid textbook 5-wave move right there. This is your correction. And if you solidly break out from the highs and you do not swing failure pattern, we just head to higher levels, right? And you look for the wave 3, consolidation, wave 4, and, you know, continue to the upside. I think that is low probability. I think a rejection is due either from this zone or from the highs of today to sweep at least the lows that we have created today. We did get a sweep today, so it would make sense to actually get up to the Sunday highs for that liquidity. There is a lot of liquidity there. But we know how the price reacts when we get the liquidity grab, right? Just with this drop that we had now, It's kind of been a local sweep of the lows and an instant bounce back up here to the highs, which, you know, if you did long here, this would be your take profit one zone, right? So we are looking to squeeze out here. We are pushing through. We are pushing out here very, very nicely for the moment. Just about to test today's highs. Breaking through today's highs. For the moment, squeezing up. And it would be nice to see if we do manage to squeeze up a little bit higher. A little bit higher would be ideal. You got the 3-wave move here. This is very one wavy. So I do see the high chance of forming a 3-waver here. Some kind of 3-waver to try and push to the highs. And then we look for the lows to be claimed. And then you're forming your ABC flat. A little bit aggressive SFP. This is very one wavy. This is the possible structure that we're looking at the moment. This is going to be this would be very interesting, because if we do come up, sweep liquidity, right, and we do come down to sweep up the lows right over here, this is going to be an interesting scenario. You know, the problem is right now, I mean, this is very, very one wavy. Inside of this WXY, you want to see, in this side of this ABC flat, you do want to see a kind of a 3-waver in your B wave. You want to see a 3-wave move, and this is very one wavy. So it does, you know, it does look like there's a high chance that we do get up to yesterday's highs and expand this ever so slightly, then get the corrective move back down. And this is going to be extremely interesting to see. You know, if we do sweep up these lows, or do we sweep up these lows over here? Because this would be a bullish corrective move. This would be a bullish corrective move. Then you would look for continuation to the upside. Extremely corrective price action. Yeah, for the moment, this is what we're looking at. Depending on where the high is created here, what we're looking at is the 1.618 extension. We do reject here, if we do form this flat, right, which is overall the idea here, it might extend to yesterday's highs. It could extend to yesterday's highs. Hang on a second here, because Tradingview is not playing ball here with me today. This would be interesting to see. As this ABC flat right there did hit the 1.618 extension, that's where I got into a short day trade today. This did hit the 1.618 very nicely. That's, you know, that's where I entered the short today. It would be very interesting to see if this suddenly gets a collapse down in this range. I mean, this would be a difficult short, because you know, you can sweep up the highs. It can extend and double top. I mean, if we do get up to the highs of yesterday, I would be very interested in getting into a swing failure pattern. and I would be aiming for the lows of today. This short trade, I would be very interested. And this would be my target zone. I realized that we could only sweep up this high and already correct down. That is also very possible. It is very, very possible, but I'm just realizing the amount of liquidity that we do have above yesterday's highs, and we might just stretch our legs. And because we formed a very one wave move here, a corrective move of some kind, either here or here, and then get one more push and then create the aggressive move down is the scenario. So this right now for a short does not become too attractive because it's moved up in a very one wave, right? It's a very one wavy move. And you want to see at least a three waver in the B wave, right? So we need some kind of consolidation or a flag and then next push up. And that's where it becomes interesting for the short. And of course, you need to swing failure pattern, right? You need to reject from the highs. So you have an entry, you have a stop loss. And you do, once the price moves down, you can be defensive, right? Either leave stop loss where it is because it's small anyway, or be defensive as you get the rejection. And if you do not reject, then eventually we are looking at the bullish case, which is basically breaking out. If there's no rejection and it just breaks out, we're looking at this to be the ABC movement. And this, the 1, 2, 3, right? If we just rocket out from yesterday's highs, up we go. Not only, this was regardless, this was a swing failure pattern. Whoever got into this long position, this is your TP1. And if you SFP from this high, then it's your TP2, right? If you break out, if anybody got into the long position on this liquidity grab and you break out here, you want to maintain some of that long, right? But if you SFP from that level, you want to take profits. If you reject from the highs here, anybody that is in that long, I would be interested in the short. And whoever's in the long needs to take profit here on this day trade. If you reject from the highs, if you smash out through the level, then why not hold that long position, right? And take profits as you do, continue that big momentum to the upside, if it were to be the case, right? If we do top out, say somewhere here, or we do swing failure pattern from the highs of yesterday, and we move down, wherever the price tops out, you need to think about the flat. You need to think about the flat because that would give you a possible good long position. And I'm going to explain, the levels that I would be interested. Right, it's all taking the trading decision at the right moment. So we have this zigzag move here. We're looking for this to be a possible B wave and then the C wave, right? We're looking at a possible flat formation in this region. And if we were to, depending on where we top out, what we're looking at is the 1.618 extension from the highs to the lows to the highs of the B wave. And what we would be interested in is the 1.618 extension. So wherever this tops out, if it tops out, right? Because it might not top out and we might just break through. Swing failure pattern is going to be interesting. I'm interested in that swing failure pattern. If we do swing failure pattern as a possible short trade that I'll be looking at, targeting the lows of today, and the 1.618 extension from this movement is going to be an interesting long position. I do think it, you know, we could be going to higher levels. We could be going to higher levels here. I would be interested in the 1.618. It's a very easy, simple execution. You hit the 1.618, you start getting above 1.618, stop loss at the low. I would be looking for higher prices. I would be looking at the price to actually break through here. That is if we do not break through now. If it does extend a little bit more, then eventually, you know, I'm either looking for an SFP from here or an SFP from here. But the potential here right now of this WXY, as explained, is basically a scenario. If we start rejecting down very quickly in the next coming hours and sweep up these lows, you know, as mentioned, I'm looking for a flat here. You know, looking for the price to continue to the upside, and looking for a WXY. As you know, the other scenario has been invalidated, which was looking pretty good. The reading was okay. You know, so far so good. ABC flat 1, possible 2, possible continuation down was there. Well, that's been invalidated, and now what we're looking at is, you know, is this. And, you know, this gives you a possible SFP based on the flat. If you do not SFP, you just break out here locally. If you SFP, it gives you a valid setup. You're targeting the lows of today, the higher lows of today. And the 1.618 extension from this movement gives you also a possible trigger if you react to it, to then go to higher levels. If you do not get a reaction at the 1.618 extension, then you're looking for an SFP from this range, right? Either one of these two lows. I mean, that would be a very, very strong expanding kind of flat. It would be a bit too aggressive. I mean, the 1.618 could get the reaction already. Just like this 1.618 extension here. Then they give you very, very good solid setups. Reaction at the 1.618, corrective move down. Right now we're maintaining above this high. We are hitting the 236-1382 extension. So yeah, this could be topping out in this range. However, the B waves are very, very complex to get into a trade. You know, it's just you need to let it develop. B waves can be very tricky, and you do have a bullish case here. Preferably you want to get into the C wave either at 1.618 extension, wherever that sits, wherever the high is. And if you do not react at the 1.618, then I would be looking at the lows here for the swing failure pattern, either this one or this one. B waves can, you know, overshoot. We can't sweep the highs. Sweeping up the highs could be an interesting short scalp. Short day trade back down to the lows of today, higher lows, today's higher lows. I am interested in that execution. Let's see how we get up there. We might be heading up there now in the next coming minutes. And let's go through the comment section, see what people are saying. You know, are you feeling bullish? I got a poll here. I did create a poll, I think. But are you feeling bullish or not? Let me know in the comment section. Most bullish case scenario, as there is a 5-wave count here, and there is a zigzag move here, then if you smash through the highs of yesterday, it eventually, creates that third wave, right? You're just in a third wave and the price just breaks out, right? So let's see. The flat scenario, the WXY does look very attractive. Of course, the B wave can be very complex. The best scenario is creating that swing failure pattern from yesterday's highs, as you do have that liquidity. If you don't swing failure pattern, higher we go. We've got some pretty interesting liquidity here at above $86,000. So that's where we're heading. Currently in no trade, managed to get into this day trade. Made $800 on this little movement down. Would have been nice to claim the lows. Would have been a better trade, but I wasn't too confident on this long position. I might attempt a swing failure pattern here, and I would be ready to get into another long because all of this seems very corrective, and I do see the price heading north right now with this new development that we've had, invalidating this scenario, which was looking pretty interesting, was looking pretty good. But the WXY structure was also something to take into consideration, or a triangle, but the triangle has not been formed, so it looks pretty interesting, guys. Not a level that I would long right now. Let's leave it that way, despite of the price, you know, going to higher levels. Let's go through the comment section. By the way, anybody that is interested in trading, I'm out of my trade. Managed to make some profits on that short. Defensive, took the profits on the reaction and missed the long position. Just, it wasn't too interesting, that long for me. But there could be another long here, okay? 1.618 extension. If we do sweep up the lows here, 1.618 extension of the Y wave in the flat. And if the 1.618 does not get a reaction, then I would be looking at, you know, wherever this B wave finishes, you know, maybe the lows could be a scenario here. I mean, it would be a little bit too expanding in my opinion. 1.618 could get the reaction. If the 1.618 does not get the reaction, then it could actually push down and sweep up the lows from early this morning and then get the massive relief rally. Remember, if you are interested in trading, guys, Weeks has 20% deposit bonus. If you deposit $10,000, you're getting $2,000. What you need to do is transfer that deposit to your futures account from spot to futures. Hold it for 3 days and you're getting that airdrop, guys. You're getting more capital for your trading, okay? You also get 25% fee reduction with the second link down below, guys. Take advantage on Weeks because you literally just need an email and a password. I think you can trade anywhere on Weeks. Just an email and a password, guys. Take advantage of the bonus and the fee reduction using the second link down below. So let's see how the price develops. Let me know if you did get into a long position or into a short position. Are you feeling bullish? Do you see this breakout going to much higher levels? Interesting little range here. This was one scenario that we were looking at. It was looking okay for it, I have to say. But it got invalidated. And as it got invalidated, it's, you know, now what we're possibly looking is for this scenario, and that we could go to higher levels. We could be going to higher levels. Okay. Let's go through comment section, see what the people are saying. We made profit from that long position. High legends like Smash Devil, much love to you, my man. Made profit with that long. Make sure to take profit. You are reacting right now at the highs. You're getting rejected from the highs. Anybody that longed here needs to take profit here and needs to be defensive. Be aware that the lows could be claimed, right? Kind of very rangy, complex, sideways, corrective structure. It doesn't look insanely impulsive. It doesn't to the downside or to the upside. Trade safe, legends, manage risk. If you did long, I would definitely collect some profits as you are reacting from this high. And there is that flat scenario. Very, very possible, right? And as you're reacting to the highs here, yeah, why not collect some profits, right? as we day trading and scalping. Took the short from round tripped my bag. Got into short now based on the 0.88. Also, 𝗬𝗫 0.88 touched. Oh, the 0.88 also, right? With the, possible target as well. Double confluence here. You got the ABC flat, 0.88. Yeah, good one on the 0.88. Massively respected the 0.88. Fibonacci retracement. Got someone here, 𝗬𝗫, getting into the short on the 0.88. Stop loss at the highs on the rejection, and you can actually be defensive. Run a free trade right now, right? Because you did get the movement down of a few $100s. It was not a bad, based on the flat of the WXY, it was actually not a bad execution at the 0.88. And take profits at the lows of today, right? Be defensive, protect your position. Being aware that Sunday's highs could be claimed, right? Very, very much possible. Absolute legends here trading. Much love to everybody. Remember to be cautious, and I will be back with more tomorrow, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you're new, we look at many different setups and scenarios, try and explain them. Thank you, everybody, for smashing the like, and I will see you tomorrow.